We start, as always, with Cowboy head coach Mike Boynton, and a win over Arkansas, a tough loss at TCU. We're into February, which is grind time. So how do you feel about things right now?
You know what? Obviously really disappointed coming off last night's game, but to put it in perspective, this team's had a pretty good run at it here. We actually played well through some adverse circumstances. At the same time, you got to find a way to close out the game last night. A couple poor decisions late, and we played with fire a little bit too much for that game, specifically on the defensive end. But it's certainly something we have to get corrected because there's a lot more opportunity out in front of us.
M.A. Moncrief's averaged about 16 points per game over the last 2 weeks. He's had multiple double-doubles during this stretch. What's happened with him? I mean, obviously you've been pleased with a lot of the minutes he's given you from day one, but it's gone to a different level as of late. What's happened?
I think he's settled into understanding how to be effective. It takes a while sometimes, even for the most talented guys, and he's certainly one of those guys as a freshman who's got the ability to impact the game in multiple ways. But it takes some time to figure out how to be effective at this level, particularly when you're undersized at his position. And I think he's started to embrace how to take advantage of his quickness and his ability to offensive rebound. He's done a better job of late. Last night was a little bit back to what he did in the beginning of the year, but making his free throws and finishing inside.
Bryce Williams came off the bench. He had been starting, but you brought him off the bench in the game against TCU, and he scores in double figures. How pleased were you that he was able to adjust and really, when he came into the game, impacted it right away against TCU?
Yeah, he's a old throwback gamer. He doesn't really get affected by whether he starts or comes off the bench or whether we have the ball in his hand or if he's playing off the ball more. He just loves to compete. And having him and Rondell be able to come off the bench and give us the type of production that they have consistently throughout this year has been a big, big bonus for us.
Rondell Walker, and I know we've talked about this, but it just seems like he's such a fit.
Yeah, I mean, he's been recruited to this program, and he understands exactly what we're about. I spent 4 years recruiting him and having him around and understanding the terminology and what the expectations are. And he's fully embraced it, and that's the reason he's had success to start his career. The thing I'm excited about is I think he's got a high ceiling, and so a long ways to go in terms of development.
Cunningham had a huge second half after getting into some foul trouble in the first half at TCU. He played only 8 minutes. It's easy probably to take for granted that, you look at him, you feel like, he's 22, 23 years old because he's so smooth. Do you have to remind him sometimes of the fact that he is a marked man and that, there's still some adjusting to that is ongoing, I would think?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, he's playing his 16th college basketball game, and teams are certainly targeting him as the guy to stop. But at the same time, we've got to continue to develop his not necessarily IQ, but his understanding of how to take advantage of double teams or, where he can catch the ball and get quick shots off, or when he's got to take threes that are probably a little bit quicker in the early part of the shot clock than late. But he was sensational in the second half, and we're certainly glad we got him.
Texas next up, a team that had to shut down for a little while due to COVID, coming off a loss to Baylor, but nonetheless, a team that's been ranked in the top 10 most of the season. Has anything changed significantly with them since you saw them just before Christmas? Well,
they're playing with a ton of confidence, that's for sure. Obviously, they've had some huge wins since we played them way back in December. One at Kansas very, very handily. And obviously, you got 3 really, really dynamic guards. And it seems like they've got more depth now because Hepa and Febris are both playing for them. And I think they intended to redshirt them both, but they're both giving them significant contributions.
As far as the matchup goes, good matchup, okay matchup. How do you feel about that?
I like the matchup. They got a little bit more experience, particularly in their backcourt than we do. Playing with Rondell and Avery and even Bryce, who's in his first year in our program. We're a little bit inexperienced there. But I like our toughness. I like our athleticism, the way it matches up against them. They just got a little bit more length across the board. But I think there's certainly some things we can do to try to put ourselves in position to have a good game.
Hard to imagine a more challenging set of games. You play 2 in 3 days, Texas at home and Kansas and Lawrence.
Yeah, it's the Big 12, right? And there's no way to get around it. You can't decide where the games go, but nonetheless, this is where we are. Our team will be prepared. We'll take a couple days to get dialed into Texas, and then we'll have a quick turnaround before we go to Lawrence. One thing I know about playing in Lawrence, guys are always excited and looking forward to that experience, and I'm sure this year will be no different.
Coming up, Casey Kendrick and Jim Littell talk Cowgirl basketball. The Cowgirls are rolling, and that conversation's coming up.
Living with joint pain. Take the first step at mercy.net/cowboysortho.
For all the ways you love to play, Academy Sports and Outdoors makes it easier than ever to get what you need and have fun out there. Get free shipping on your favorite brands at academy.com or get free curbside or in-store pickup at your Academy store.
We'll make this simple. It's time to go and get rewarded for it. The My Phillips 66 app saves you up to 25 cents per gallon of gas. That's right, up to 25 cents per gallon of gas. That means for every fill-up, you're saving money for your next adventure. That's a reward that keeps on going. The app is safe and easy. Plus, mobile pay offers fewer touch points during payment, so you can focus on going and saving. Download the My Phillips 66 app today so you can save more to go more. Phillips 66. Live to the full.
Thanks, Dave. And now we talk to Coach Jim Littell, the head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowgirls. Coach, good to have you back with us on the show.
It's great to be here, Case.
Good week again. You know, back-to-back weeks. Anytime we get a chance to talk about 2 wins in the course of a week, it's been a good week, and that's exactly what happened again this time.
Yeah, it's been a good stretch. You know, when you could get 4 wins in a 9-day period and get some road wins while you're doing it, it makes it good.
It is, and it's a good stretch. You guys opened this conference with a 5-game winning stretch. Now you're in the midst of a 4-game winning stretch, and these wins have put you in 3rd place in the Big 12. You have more wins than anyone else in the Big 12, and as we make this final third of the season, you guys are in a great spot.
We feel like we're in a good position. We just got to take care of our own business and come to play every night. I know it's a cliche, but there's no give-me's in this league, and our kids have done that so far. We were a little disappointed the way we played at West Virginia, but for the most part, we've been ready to play every conference game.
It's been interesting watching how each team has navigated some tough stretches through the Big 12, and again, you guys come through yours, and now you have won 4 in a row. We've done this once before where you played a team back-to-back, and I know you didn't like it, and you had to do it again with Kansas this week, and we'll talk about those games. But talk specifically why that is so challenging.
Well, the challenge is when you beat a team to get young people to turn around and think you've got a tough game on hand. And we beat them pretty decisively at Kansas, and it made it a little challenging to get our kids back ready to go. We got off to a slow start against them, and so much of this game is the mental side of it, being confident, being ready, answering the call every night.
Well, and what's interesting, Coach, just spoiler alert, you got the sweep over TCU when you had this earlier in the season. Now you get the sweep over Kansas as well. And what is amazing is really how identical the 2 games were. In both games, in Lawrence and in Stillwater, slow starts through the first half. You had a 2-point lead going into the halftime in Lawrence. In fact, you only scored 22 points. But then you came out and scored 28 points in the 3rd quarter and really gave yourself some separation and played extremely well in that second half.
Those games were mirrors of each other, and as you said, low scoring the first half. The second halves of the 2 games, 51 points, 53 points, had explosive quarters, got going in transition. We are at the point right now we need to figure out the first quarter and get better, because it's going to come back to haunt us someday.
You know, it is interesting, Coach, though, and we talked about this in the pregame the other day. Even though your kids don't have the fast start that I know you want, and that's what every coach wants, is to start a ball game the way they should, there is the sense of, okay, we've got to get going. So you see that, and it's happened in the second halves for a lot of ball games. But there's no panic. And there is a difference between playing with a little sense of urgency versus panicking, and your kids just don't do that.
Well, I believe that there's a confidence level coming with them, that there's more of a calmness, and they understand that the game's played over 40 minutes, and our kids have kept their head pretty good as far as understanding there's going to be different runs throughout a game.
Well, you guys got the first win, 75-51, a 24-point win, and as you said, then you had to turn around and convince your kids that this is going to be a tough game, and it was through the first half again. And again, the same thing, Coach. You guys had a 5-point lead. You'd only scored 31 points at halftime, but you come out in the third quarter and you score 22. You go on to score 29. And the second halves just continued to be really, really good. And the part that is, I think, the emphasis on that is even though you're making a lot of substitutions, there's still a lot of points scored and a lot of really good basketball being played laughing whoever's on the floor for you right now.
No, we're getting contributions on different nights by different people. At KU, Lauren Fields had an outstanding ball game, scored 23 and 19 in the second half. Jamie and Mac have been pretty consistent all year long, and then we've had Lexi Keys jump up and have big ball games for us. So as long as we can have the two be real consistent and then get that third and fourth score, we've got a chance to win some games.
Coach, you guys are scoring in multiple ways. You're scoring in the paint. Obviously, you're doing that with dumping the ball inside to Mac, to DeLapp, to now Reeves back, some other kids getting their opportunity. But you're also, Taylon Collins maybe inside, but you're also scoring points in the paint in transition and run-out buckets. You had 17 in the first game, 27 transition points in the second game. So right now you're running really well. You're scoring in the paint very well. You shot 8 of 13 beyond the arc in the second half against Kansas, so you're shooting the ball outside well. You're scoring in a lot of different ways, which is really taxing on a defense.
I think that helps when you can run good half-court offense. You can get easy points on the offensive glass. You can use your defense to create offense. And when we've ran well, it's because we've guarded pretty well. And long shots equal long rebounds, and it's given us the ability to get out in transition.
One of the amazing things the other night, we're going to talk about this young lady more specifically in Natasha Mack, because she had a defensive stop, forced a tough shot, altered a shot, rebounded it, gets the kick out, throws it down the floor. You guys take a very quick shot in transition. You miss it. And Natasha Mack is there to get the rebound on the other end. She did that at least on a couple of maybe 3 occasions. That kid right now is playing with a whole different level of motor.
Very unique and special talent. We've had a lot of great players here, but she's one that can alter the game on both ends of the floor.
And just added to the John Wooden watch list, mid-season edition. Probably should have been there earlier. No surprise she's there, but boy, she has earned that spot.
She definitely has. Great leader, great teammate. Probably her downfall is she's too unselfish. She probably needs to seek more shots throughout the course of the game, but she covers up a lot of mistakes on the defensive end of the floor when people penetrate, go into the hole, blocking the shots, and she probably alters 10 to 12 shots a game as well.
Well, and Coach, now then, that was in the books, 2 sweeps, TCU, Kansas, and there's some other teams that have an opportunity. You have a chance to do that. I know you understand, though, the challenge, obviously, with Oklahoma. Team that's not just another game. You guys have put yourself in a great spot, but you want to get that next win against Oklahoma, and you'll get your chance on Saturday night.
No, Oklahoma's playing better. They went into Iowa State and really should have won the ball game at Iowa State, had every opportunity to win it, and Iowa State pulled it out at the end, went in and won in Manhattan. They've played everybody really, really tough, and they've got Maddie Williams back this time that didn't play in our first ball game in Norman, and she's one of the top 5 offensive players in the league. So difficult matchup. They present some things that are challenging for you, and we present some things that are challenging for them as well. So it'll be a good ball game, and it's always Bedlam.
It is Bedlam, and it's a game that you have not shied away and talked about the importance. And now your kids have all been through it one time, so they understand as well. And it's my understanding that if they didn't, at the end of the ball game the other night, Landry Gum made sure that they knew who you had coming up next.
Landry Gum told us who the coach was and who we were playing, and to be ready and to win.
That's exactly right. Coach, best of luck. Congratulations on the week. Let's get another couple of wins next week.
All right, thanks, Case.
Good stuff there with Coach Jim Littell. We need to take a break. When we come back, I just heard in the earpiece that Jessica has got John Smith in a single leg. She's about to take him to the mat. We'll see if that's all true. Coming up after the break.
Decorative towel.
There was a mess. I wiped up a mess.
Yeah, you
When game day is a go, there's a Bud Light there.
ADM milling is really a part of the fabric of the Enid community. So if we were to have lost them, it would have been more than the 70 jobs that they employ.
OG&E, the City of Enid, and the Enid Regional Development Alliance were all great to work with. Not only does it allow for the growth of the new mill, but also the power is there to make that happen for the future.
Thanks, Casey. I'm Jessica Morrey, and I am joined now by the man, the myth, the legend, Cowboy Wrestling head coach John Smith. We're talking the 5th-ranked Cowboy Wrestling team. You guys are 7-0 on the year. A lot of your success coming from the 3 true freshmen in your lineup, AJ Ferrari, Dustin Plott, and Trevor Mastro Giovanni. 20-1 so far this season. Talk to me about how they've been able to have so much success.
Well, one, they're good. You know, that helps that they're good. It was an important recruiting class for us. You know, we knew that there was a chance that they could step into this lineup right away, and that's what they've done. You know, the competition has not been as stiff as we've had it in the past, obviously. Our schedule's changed a little bit. We're wrestling on one day. Last week was really our challenge, right? And we got to see ourselves a little bit differently. 7-0 is a good start, but the way we wrestled a little bit last week was concerning. So only concerning from a standpoint of, you know, as we prepare for these tougher matches, we're going to need to recognize there's tougher competition.
And you mentioned last week's matches. How does having close matches like that prepare you ultimately for possibly closer matches in the Big 12s or, you know, in national competition?
Yeah, I think one thing that it does, it just gives you a little bit of a reality check, you know, that we're not wrestling Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm not taking anything against them. Good program that just got started, but we're wrestling Iowa State, you know, a program that we've wrestled 100 times, a program that's won the NCAA championship. University of Northern Iowa, very competitive team who beat us last year. So the competition just kind of raised up, and it just kind of exposed us a little bit, going, oh, we're not quite there yet. You know, this is a little different, and you need those checks. You need those checks and balances throughout a season to help you raise your level up and continue to get better.
We talk about how it's a different season, you know, for all sports with COVID and everything, and you guys have dealt with that, and you've dealt with some injuries, but you have the next man up attitude, and you've got a lot of depth. How does your depth help you?
Well, you know, we've needed it this year. It's been a challenge, an unusual year of injuries, disappointments. You know, we've had some guys work really, really hard and losing their opportunity to compete. We lost Cade Brock last week, which was a tough loss. He's a local kid, grew up here, known him since he was 4 years old. You know, you just heartbreak for him because, you know, he wants it so bad, and he prepared well this season. Just one little slip up, and he's out for the season. But Dusty Hone has come in, so you're always preparing your team for, you know, 20 deep, 25 deep, even though you have 10 guys that wrestle. You know, you got to be ready at all times and recognize that in wrestling, it's hard not to get little tweaks and little injuries, and then occasionally you have a bad injury, you know. But for the most part, our guys that have stepped in have been ready, and that's the key. You got to be ready. You know, this opportunity could come up, and bam, it came up, and we were in position to win both those dual meets in Iowa because of solid performances from guys that hadn't been in the lineup.
And this weekend, you're going to hit the road and then come back to Stillwater. But first, you're going down to Norman to take on OU, a Bedlam matchup. Usually crazy atmosphere, but of course this year a little different. Also, you're wrestling in Lloyd Noble Center. So what are you expecting when you head down to Norman?
Well, you just never underestimate Bedlam. I mean, Bedlam matches normally never go the way you think they go. Fortunately enough for us, over the last several years, a lot of years, you know, that swing has always went towards us because we out-wrestled our opponent. And that's what we're going to have to do. It's going to be a tight match. And if it's tight, we need to win the tight matches late in the third period. If there's bonus points to be had, then we need to score bonus points. I mean, that's what great teams do. They stretch themselves out, they dig a little bit deeper, and they go for it, you know. And Oklahoma State wrestling, you know, we win Bedlam. You know, it's a match that's got a little bit more importance than everything else. You know, not that it's going to make or break your season. It's just one moment in time that you get to participate in this. And listen, we take it serious, and we'll be prepared.
So after Bedlam, you hit the road back up I-35 North to come back to Stillwater to wrestle Little Rock here at Gallagher-Iba. Bedlam's at 1, Little Rock is at 7. This is the first time you guys are going to be back in Gallagher-Iba Arena since January 10th. How nice is it going to be to get to wrestle here at home?
Well, it's going to be real nice. One, you know, it's nice to just stay in the state. Norman is an easy trip for us too, but you know, we made a decision as coaches, and of course our conference, our Big 12 conference, was behind us with wrestling just once a week. You know, I think we made the right decision for our sport, made the right decision for our student athletes to try to get them to the end and give everyone that opportunity to wrestle in the NCAA championships. That's really what you live for, you know. This is what you grew up dreaming about, and we need to give that opportunity to them. And so when you're wrestling only once a day or once a week, you know, this is normal for us. You know, you're not going to see this very often, if ever again. You just want to just really take advantage of that day you're wrestling. And that's why we're going to wrestle Little Rock. We're going to come back and get another match in. Very grateful to Little Rock to come back to Stillwater. They've been here once, and we didn't wrestle them, but we will this time. 7 o'clock on Sunday, yeah.
Yep, 7 o'clock on Sunday, you can catch Cowboy Wrestling at Gallagher-Iba Arena. And of course, you can watch it all on Big 12 now on ESPN+.